If I can't love you, then maybe I'm to blame alone. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like this episode if you enjoy the content. Season 19 of Sister Wives has been a really tearful experience for Janelle and her family. The untimely death of Garrison Brown put the entire family into grief, and the upcoming episodes will be all about how they are coping with the traumatic loss. Even trying to be tough, Janelle was unable to keep her tears in check in the upcoming episode. Here's everything you need to know about what happened. Garrison Brown was well known for his affection towards cats and often provided peeks at his life as a proud pet parent on social media. Before his premature death, he was constantly updating people on his cute kitties, and this won the hearts of many fans. One of his last Instagram uploads was a heartwarming photo with his recently adopted 9-year-old cat, Buttons. Garrison confessed that even though the cat was older, he simply couldn't leave him behind. His nature always compelled him to save rescued animals. Garrison's other two cats, Katu and Patches, also came under the spotlight of his fans. His commitment to rescuing and rehabilitating animals placed him as a role model, and it moved Janelle so much when she saw how his legacy had influenced others. In a preview released by TLC, a touching moment from the new episode appears to feature Janelle's visit to the Flagstaff Humane Society, where Garrison had left such a large impression. She welled up with tears when she viewed pictures of her son proudly posted, as well as a plaque commemorating him for his efforts. Janelle reported even Garrison's colleagues at nursing school inquired where they could donate in his name, and she referred them to the Humane Society. He adopted all of his cats there. The shelter received over $25,000 in donations since his death in the intervening years. Garrison would have been delighted to know that his work continues to assist animals in need, Janelle said. And as for Garrison's cats, after he passed away, Janelle kept everyone apprised. Patches and Katu are living with Michelle Brown and Logan now, and Buttons was adoringly adopted by Aspen and Mitch Thompson. A few of the fans have praised the family for keeping Garrison's cats and not putting them up for adoption. It is an emotional decision that shows how much they wanted to keep him in mind. One respondent said, "As a fellow cat lover, I love that you took in his cats. That was the nicest thing you could have done." Another said, "It's like little pieces of Garrison still live on with you guys." That would have made him happy. The tragic death of Garrison in 2024, which Janelle later admitted was a suicide, stunned followers of Sister Wives. Janelle came forward about what happened to her son around the anniversary of his death. She said they would talk a few times a day, and TLC Sister Wives kept texting him, hoping he would respond. She also saw how he was fighting against depression, saying she always knew he was fighting an internal war. Garrison Brown, the son of Janelle and Cody, had been a Nevada National Guard member and was just 25 when he died. He will be eternally remembered by Sister Wives fans, not only as a loving member of the family, but as a young man with a heart for loving his family, animals, and life. "I always called him. I never went a day without his voice." Janelle revealed that Garrison's death came as a sad shock. It was Gabriel who found him. "Mom, he's dead," Gabriel said to her. Janelle was confused and asked, "What do you mean?" "He's dead. He killed himself," Gabriel replied. Janelle admitted that the next few minutes are foggy. "I don't even know what happened after that. I just got in the car and drove," she said. "We knew he wasn't well. We were doing everything we could, but he just couldn't keep going." Since then, Garrison has been remembered by viewers, especially after a recent show that brought up strong emotions. A photo of Garrison came on the show, which created online debate about how his legacy is being managed. One viewer wrote, "I didn't think this season could get any worse, but TLC found a way." Most of the fans criticized the utilization of Garrison's image in the episode and the concentration on other family drama, particularly on characters simply called Baldocks and Sowen by some critics. The fans felt that the episode was disrespectful to Garrison's memory since it utilized him as background information instead of concentrating on his narrative. Other people also pointed out that after Garrison's death, the series seemed to downplay his contribution and emphasize other unrelated plot lines. One scene in particular, putting Garrison's photo in Cody's garage, irritated viewers to a large extent. It was also considered insensitive by many as putting him aside. Cody said he wanted to put him in the grave again, one viewer complained. It's disgusting. Why does he want to forget him? Several fans also reported rumors that Cody tried to have Garrison's funeral recorded by TLC. Thankfully, the family reportedly cut the network from recording the military ceremony. Robyn wouldn't have his picture in the house, another fan declared. So it wound up in the garage. Because it didn't match a giant buck painting? It's disrespect of the highest degree. The feeling of disappointment that the fans feel is related to their reverence for Garrison, not just as a brother and a son, but as an individual who possessed immense sympathy for other people. In perhaps the most moving scene of the season, Janelle visited the animal shelter where Garrison had spent countless hours. But this was not television. It was a mother honoring her son's memory in respectful deference. Perched atop the rocky hills beyond town, the Flagstaff Humane Society has been a refuge for stray animals and the people who find healing among them. For Garrison, it was a refuge of peace and purpose. When Janelle entered the light, sun-drenched haven, she was engulfed by pictures of her son. Pictures lined the walls, Garrison holding kittens, stroking timid animals, smiling at a joy animals alone could bring to him. The cast welcomed Janelle not with cameras or headlines, but with quiet condolences. There were no words. In that small room, thick with hope and remembrance, Garrison's soul persisted, not in the pageantry of a television show, but in the legacy of love he had left. The alcove was weighed down with quiet love already. Janelle was introduced quietly to a small alcove just off the central hallway, where a shiny brass plaque emitted softly from earth-toned walls. Below it, a handful of Garrison's most treasured pictures had been tenderly set. One showed him holding a gray tabby with ears crumpled. One showed him grinning as a calico kitten arched its way across his shoulders. The last was somber, one showing just Garrison sitting still, a fat orange tom curled up in his lap. The plaque bore his name and a simple message, for the one who gave the voiceless a home and a second chance. Her breathing froze. It was beautiful. It was tragic. She touched, fingertips sliding along the edge of the frame as memories came flooding back. Garrison had talked about every animal like they were kin. He had a special place in his heart for the forgotten, the aged, the maimed. He once called her, all wrought up, over adopting Buttons, an old cat abandoned during an interstate move. I couldn't leave her, he'd told her. She needs to feel safe first before it's her turn. And Buttons, meanwhile, had curled up in his arms as if she'd always belonged there. He wasn't an animal enthusiast by preference. It was a crusade, a secret vow to give unconditional, healing, unjudging love. He gave his time, his heart, and his home to suffering animals without wanting anything from them back. That's just the kind of guy he was. The shelter staff quietly shared what had happened since his passing. Word of his passing had reached out to touch individuals far beyond their community. Some who had heard his story, some who hadn't. Letters came, donations, messages of sadness, gratitude, and stories of animals adopted in his memory. A volunteer led her to a room stocked with supplies, food, medicine, bedding, all made possible by a foundation created in Garrison's honor. Even seasoned staff were moved by the overwhelming support. "We've been able to save so many more lives," one of them said softly. "All because of him." Tears welled in Janelle's eyes. Her son's spirit was still here, not gone, just transformed, flowing through others, lifting them, touching lives. Even now he was looking after those who did not have a voice. When asked if she would like to share a memory, Janelle smiled graciously under the grief. He brought it all home: frogs, baby birds, squirrels. He couldn't stand to see anything get hurt. That never changed. Despite everything that had gone on in her own life, stepping away from the complexities of joint family life, experiencing heartbreak, and starting anew, her devotion to her children continued to be her beacon of light. And Garrison, he had always been the kindest-hearted among them all. She looked to a cozy corner of the shelter where a few cats slept in sunlight. One, a dirty gray with bright eyes, walked slowly over and rubbed against her ankle. The staff smiled. That cat had connected with Garrison on one of his regular visits. The moment was one of awe, a wordless dialogue between two worlds. The shelter director handed her a small notebook filled with thank you notes from donors. They were plain: "Thank you for your love of animals," or, more personal, "I adopted a senior cat too, because of him." Each a thread in the tapestry Garrison had accidentally created. Though he was gone from the body, his soul was stitched into each warm blanket, each life he had saved, each quiet act of kindness his memory had inspired. The sun altered and filled the room in its golden rays, and Janelle once again stood before the plaque. "You did good," she said softly. So good." Later, when she stepped outside, the cold air enveloped her. Yes, the pain lingered, but so did the quest. She would honor his memory, not in big gestures, but in small, conscious acts of kindness, of comfort, of compassion. And in their home, his love endured. Buttons, patches, katu, still loved, still cared for, by a family who understood how to keep the shards of Garrison's heart alive. The animals had moved into the hearts of the family. Every paw step, every comforting purr, carried with it the ghosts of him. They were no longer pets. They were keepers alive of a young man who had lived with passion, without restraint. One of his nieces smiled softly while recounting how Buttons now followed her around the house and snuggled up beside her on difficult days. "She knows," she whispered. "She feels his love through us." It had not been easy. There had been tears, tearful moments, and unspoken days. But the family had slowly united by one thing: to honor him in the most meaningful ways they could. Holidays were less about noise and more about reflection. No grand production was required to feel his presence. It was there, in the garden that had flowered from seeds he had sown so many years ago, in the old photo on the wall above the fireplace, and in the corner of the room where the cats now slept. He had chosen to live in quiet in a quick, noisy world. He stood immobile where others rushed. He enjoyed when no one paid attention. Reality television can sensationalize drama, romance, and heartbreak, yet no story has struck so profoundly as the appalling tragedy of this gentle soul. His passing created an irreparable wound in the family and in the heart of his mother, who now has to bear the unimaginable sorrow of losing her son in the glare of the media. As being the eighth of the children of his father and his fourth mother, he occupied a privileged place in the complex family tree. Other than his family tie, however, he provided a testimony to quiet good deed and benevolence. He was not only known as a son or a brother, but as being one who saw men for what they were and tried to help them, specifically those who are down on their luck. The tragedy that happened in the early spring of last year shook the family to its core. His mother, who was so invested in the complex family dynamic all along, was forced to acknowledge the heartbreaking truth. Despite her constant love and encouragement, her son had been quietly suffering. Ultimately, he lost a personal battle, his death later confirmed to have been caused by self-harm. With the first anniversary impending, tidal waves of grief rolled back in. In interviews, his mother opened up, bravely and sobbingly, about their final talks. She described how frequently they chatted, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. That closeness made the loss so devastating. She spoke of his depression, her efforts at intervention, and the helplessness of witnessing someone you love fall behind a glass that you cannot pass. The phone call delivering the news, placed by a member of his family who had discovered him first, placed her on a loop of mourning. Their support system had rushed to his defense. They'd tried everything. Sometimes, though, love wasn't enough to fight a darkness that wrapped itself up so well. Her words were a starkly human observation into the often visible issues of mental health. Their story was one of tragic reality and an appeal to empathy, but all responses were not so empathetic. A recent episode of the family's reality television show caused a recent flare-up of outrage. When he was featured front and center in a photograph, it felt to most viewers that his memory was handled in bad taste and without the respect he was due. Fans noticed that people who were estranged from him were given disproportionate coverage, while authentic tributes offered by individuals who knew him actually were minimized or not included at all. Worse, a favorite photograph of the young man was hung propped in the family matriarch's cluttered garage, a space most found to be in very bad taste. Backlash on the internet was swift and rabid. Fans deplored the action as representative of a broader cultural trend of disrespect for his memory. Why is there more respect paid to a portrait of a deer than a son's legacy? One commenter asked. There were reports some of the siblings declined to have the funeral filmed, wanting to preserve something sacred and intimate. And for a lot of the fans, it was that choice, to preserve him instead of sharing him, about which they cared most. All the while, his mom has remained steadfast in silence. Her grief is unvarnished, yet honorable. As cameras continued to roll and family drama played on TV, she's had a different plan, honoring his memory by being compassionate, remembering, and truthful. She writes of his kindness, of his dedication to causes he cared about, and of the warmth he generated in the people around him. For a moment, in her perspective, the world witnesses a son much wealthier and more human than any TV portrayal could ever paint. This loss has been felt beyond one family. Fans, viewers, and even strangers have reached out, sharing their own tales of loss and mental health. Some have been urged to speak more openly, to call their loved ones, and to vocalize for more understanding. His tale, drowning in grief, has sparked something beautiful, a call to be more compassionate, to listen more deeply, to love without shame. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more updates. Until next time, treat each other well, and as a reminder, even the tiniest act of love leaves a legacy.